Greetings and welcome to Flanigan's Ecologic. I am your host, Ted Flanigan, and today we're talking about water, the efficient use of water. Did you know that 1/2 of the world's population lives in water-stressed areas? Well, Paul is the CEO of Water Champions. He is dedicated to pioneering a water-smart future. Delighted to have him on the podcast today. Hey, Paul, welcome to the podcast. Really good to meet you.
Great to meet you, Ted. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm delighted to have you. And where are you sitting as we speak? Are you up in Marin County? Am I gauging this correctly?
I am sitting in beautiful Marin County. We back up to 100 acres of open space. We love to take walks and hikes. We have beautiful reservoirs above us that John Muir secured for us years ago, if you know Muir Woods.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a lovely little community nestled in Marin across from San Francisco.
Oh, you lucky guy. You lucky guy. I love that part of the world. Well, good for you. Good for you. And what I've already introduced you as the CEO of Water Champions. And what's on the docket today or this week? What's hot?
Well, I mean, for us, we're looking at what's going on right now with the world and close to home. President Trump just signed another executive order that's going to expand or do away with the water efficiency features that we have in our showers, our toilets, our dishwashers, our washing machines that are going to cause people to use more water, and that's going to cost them money. And we're already in many cases here in the West in a drought. So water is a big issue, and now it's going to become bigger.
And his motivation for doing this is just to let people do whatever the heck they want to do?
Well, he's saying that the current systems don't work. I quote, "They don't work well," is what he said. And it's ruining his hair.
Oh my gosh.
He feels that his showers are just a trickle, and he wants to get back to where he can condition his hair and it will wash out well for him, and he just can't get that with today's fixtures and appliances.
That is something else. Well, we certainly want him to have a good hair day every day, of course. Of course. Well, let's talk a little bit about Water Champions. How did you get into, I mean, I think of the whole water issue as just being so massive. And how did you get into it? How did you get into it, and how did you choose your focus?
Yeah, no, like many people, I really didn't have an awareness about the impact of water in terms of not only that we don't have much of it, but that in using water, we're using a lot of energy. So all that water that we use has to be treated, it has to be pumped to the central facility, it has to be pumped back to our homes, it has to be heated when we use it in the home for showering and so on. And in fact, 20% of our energy use is from doing just that. Yeah. And I was sitting at home during, like many of us, during COVID. And really, we were stuck inside because of the fires, and we were having drought, and we wanted to do something about it. And we put in an outdoor shower, and because we have a hot tub, and that's what my wife wanted. Yeah. And then we got the idea, well, what if we put in some rainwater tanks to capture that water, and we could have free outdoor showers? And we did that. And we even made the gray water from our showers run below ground into our garden, our 3-level garden. We started growing vegetables and other things. And then we had the idea, well, okay, if we could do that, we have tenants on our property, let's keep going. We put in 3 more gray water systems throughout the property. We put in a leak detection system that would let us know when we have leaks. We put in a smart irrigation system that pulls data from over 300,000 weather satellites and can see the weather 2 weeks in advance and automatically adjust how much water is put out there on the landscape. And within just a few months, we reduced our water use by 60, sometimes 70% in certain months.
Fantastic.
Reduction. And we got very excited by that. And because now we realize we are part of the solution. And we didn't see anyone else doing this. And we said, this can't be true, but not in our area. So we put some flyers out in our neighborhood just for fun to see if we get any response. And we were busier than heck putting in these types of systems almost immediately. And then we started bringing on staff to keep up, and we started doing very, very minimal marketing. In fact, just word of mouth. And we started putting in huge, 10, 20,000 gallon rainwater harvesting systems. And we became a distributor of some really cool water recycling products and shower reduction, circular shower products, and got into permaculture. And gosh, it just keeps building. But we became very large and created a Water Champions into an engineering and design consultancy for water reuse and efficiency solutions.
That's awesome. What a great story. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about some of those technologies, but before that, let's go back a little bit in your life. I know you're from New York. You went to Rochester Institute of Technology for packaging, right? The packaging science or technologies. Yeah. This is far away from your field of study, right?
Yeah. I started off actually in mechanical engineering for a couple of years, and just didn't want to build, jet engines and things, fighter engines, which I was offered an internship for. Got into packaging because I loved just the whole idea of design. I come from a background of design in my family. We're all designers and creators. And so I really found a passion that translated. I had built businesses. I started the first online survey company, informative.com. I started the nation's largest dog walking pet sitting company.
I read that Fetch.
Yeah,
that's fantastic, right?
Yeah, and sold it just as COVID kicked in, and that's when I had availability. And so I applied my entrepreneurship, and I applied my passion and love for the planet, and I applied my just design know-how. I just started studying these things and seeing what other countries, whether it's Australia or Israel or Saudi areas are doing, in Netherlands, Dutch countries are creating these incredible products. And we figured out how to get those and offer them here in the US, because what people don't understand is that the United Nations actually estimates that the global water demand will increase by 20 to 30% by 2050. And that's driven by population growth and increased consumption. And that only 0.5% of Earth's water is available as fresh water. The rest is actually salty or locked in glaciers. So we don't have a lot of water. We're using it faster than we can. And, not to scare anyone, but here in the US, at least 40 US states are projected to face water shortages in the next 10 years. And it's happening all around us. By this year, half the global population live in water stressed areas, and 1/4 of the global population, they don't have water for at least 1 month a year. So if you believe in climate change, or even if you don't, just look at what is happening with these fires, with these droughts, these extended droughts, with these floods, even infecting our water supply. The salt water is getting into our water supply. It just leads us to a real reality that water shortage is imminent. If we don't do something different.
And you said, and you well put. And you said that just a second ago, you said that 40 states are projected to be water stressed or to have issues. So we're well past. I was thinking back to Cadillac Desert, which Mark Reisner wrote back in the 80s, I guess, and it was really focused on Western water. And but you're saying now with 40 states that these issues are sweeping across the country. It's not just a Western issue anymore.
That's right. So back when they wrote that book, it really started in the 70s, and it's been slowly happening. But today, as of like June of 2022, nearly 93% of Western U.S. states were experiencing drought or abnormally dry conditions. And you can go online and see just what these images look like.
Yeah.
these drought images, but they're real. And yeah, the lower 48 states, 38% of them are in drought. So, and
Hmm.
that's as of this month.
Yeah.
So it's happening around us and certainly within our country right now.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the residential technologies that you threw out there that I'm sure our listeners are not familiar with. I'm not familiar with. For example, you said leak detection systems. Are there leak detection systems for homes?
There are. And fixing leaks and such are really low-hanging fruit with big results because get this, 1 trillion gallons per year are wasted in the US due to home leaks. And it's something like 10 to 12% of our water bill is typically leaks. And if you really want to get angry, there is a huge inefficiency in our water infrastructure because it leaks about 20% of all the water that we utilize.
But Paul, then within the home, so how does that system work?
Yeah, so real simple. It is a device that clips onto your water meter,
Mm,
and it's just like a big rubber band that holds onto your water meter, and it uses ultrasonic technology to measure the volume of water that's coming in. But then it also uses machine learning to understand what that water is doing. So it understands a toilet flush, it understands a shower, it understands irrigation, and so on. Everything, your dishwasher, your washing machine. And when something doesn't look right, so
yeah.
first of all, it tells you all that stuff. So you know how much water you're using. Knowledge is power. So if you know what you're doing, you can start to make changes. And then if it sees something out of the ordinary, it sends you a leak alert
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
immediately, and you can resolve that issue
Now,
without.
now just to bring this all the way down to dollars and cents, how expensive is that unit? Is that something that's quite affordable and has a sort of ready payback, or what's the
Yeah,
approximate cost?
it's under $200.
Yeah. Okay, great.
And in many areas, like in my area, we get a 70% rebate through our municipality. So my advice is if you're listening to this and interested, go online to your local municipality and look at their rebates page. Google XYZ municipality rebates, right? Whatever your XYZ is the name of your municipality. And they'll have a whole page of rebates, and they might very well have one or many leak detection options on rebate.
That's great. Now, what about the circular shower products? I'm envisioning that's as you're waiting for your water to reach the appropriate temperature. That's what we're talking about. Am I right about that?
It's a little different. So the idea with a recirculating shower is that it takes a half a gallon of water and it reuses it throughout the whole time that you're showering. As that water is used, it goes into its own special little collection basin. Think of your shower pan, the base of your shower. It takes just a little 4x8 area to capture that water, and it brings it back up. It cleans it. It uses UV to disinfect it, and it adds a little bit more warm water. And in that whole time, you're using 80% less water and 80% less energy to heat it. And here's the cool thing, it's at least double the flow. So typically a shower is 1.7 gallons per minute. You can have a luxurious 3.5 gallon per minute shower, which is not permitted in our state. The max you can have is 1.7 gallons
Right.
per minute. But with the shower, you can have that luxurious flow and not feel bad.
And now back to dollars and cents. Is this an affordable technology for?
Yeah, it's new to the market. I would say that if you are using it regularly, it has about a 7-year payback period. So, there's some time in there, but solar is double that typically.
Sure.
And if you have more people using it in the household, it could pay itself back in a couple of few years, for
Right.
sure.
Now these and then the irrigation, I know we're sort of clicking through the list here, but the irrigation systems, you said they're linked with all sorts of weather data to
Super cool.
right?
Yeah,
even for at the household level?
yeah, so this is a really cool device. If you have a irrigation controller, most likely, at best, you can set it for seasonality, for summer or spring, and it will adjust the water a little bit. But what these new products
Hmm.
are they are smart devices, and they are connected to one device I love is connected to over 300,000 weather satellites, and it is accurate within 35 feet of wherever it's controlling, and it can see the weather 2 weeks in advance. And so what that means is you set the schedule, and let's say you want your landscape watered 3 times a week, but today it's windy, and that spray irrigation is going to miss the plants or some
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
It's going to hold off. It's going to actually not spray out while it's that windy. Or let's just say rain is coming, it's going to start to reduce the amount of water leading up to that rainy day. And these devices will decrease water use by approximately 30%.
That's really awesome. Again, and how expensive is that technology?
Again, that is under $200 and typically rebated. And all of these devices I'm talking about are all controlled by on the phone, so you can see everything. You can control it remotely. I'll tell you something really cool I like about this
Hmm.
device. More and more, and I know you just faced it in your area of California, is fire, the risk of fire. And so a lot of times what we'll do is set up these smart irrigation devices with a perimeter zone, irrigation zone.
Hmm.
And let's say there's a fire. Well, you got to evacuate, but you can, from your car, as you're driving away, remotely turn on that perimeter zone. And that thing will run until, the water pipes break or whatever. Or you could have it up on your roof, but it allows you to be safe, get out, and still try to um, reduce the risk of fire on your property.
That's fantastic. Good stuff. Oh, some really appropriate technologies, and they're not expensive
Not at all.
at all. So you provide this. As I was looking at your materials, doing a little prep for our podcast, it sounds like for a very nominal fee, I saw $200 or $300 on your website. You provide an in-home consultation. Is that right? Right?
Yeah, we'll provide either if it's local, we can physically meet someone on their property, or if not, we can do a Zoom session or we can do a FaceTime session. A lot of times it's with people who are building new homes, so they don't have a physical property. We'll review their plans. And the whole idea is we take a look at what's possible, what their goals are in terms of their water saving initiatives. And what we like to look at is what we call whole house water reuse and efficiency. And what that
Mm.
means is we're going to look at what we can do inside the house to reduce water use, but we're also going to look at what we can do outside. We mentioned irrigation, but also all that stormwater that runs off our property to down the drain that actually causes more issues for treatment plants,
Yeah.
especially when it rains hard during these atmospheric river storms that we're getting. Um, Instead, it can be slowed down, sunk, and spread and sunk into the landscape, and that's called that's a form of permaculture. So we look at all different ways to utilize, to reduce water, to reuse water, to have more efficiency. And it's kind of a whole portfolio of solutions. We provide the estimates for these products. We then can actually order and have those products delivered. And then we, of course, support installers. We have an online site called renovaacademy.com where we train people in how to do these things, whether it's designing or installing or selling these solutions. And lastly, we have a support team who will literally hold the hands of these installers while they're in the field to ensure that everything is done properly.
How great. Now, you got into permaculture there. I thought you might even use the term bioswales at one point. That whole
Mhm.
notion of moving the dirt around or the landscaping around so that you can really create basins and have that recharge going on right there.
Absolutely. Bioswales, rain gardens, swales themselves to move water throughout the property. Maybe you have gardens that we can circulate this water through, or other trees, plants, or shrubs. But the whole idea is to work with water, because when, in a lot of areas, they don't get a lot of water. The problem is not, though, that they don't have a lot of water. The problem is that we don't know how to use it when it comes. And so that's what we try to do, is maximize the potential of that water when we do have it.
And I wanted to ask you about one of the case studies on your website involves, I think, a home in Santa Rosa. And it looks like maybe it was a rebuild after one of the fires in Santa Rosa. It looked like that to me. And it showed a pool. And how do you deal with pools? I mean, when I think of pools in Southern California, I think of lots and lots of evaporation. And boy, you fly over LA and you just see pool after pool after pool, and you go, oh my gosh, there's no covers on those at all. How do you deal with pools? Are you just saying that's a consumer choice, we're going to work with it and find other ways of saving water? Or how does that jive with what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because a lot of people don't know how much evaporation actually does occur from their pool, and when they see their water bills, they're blown away.
Yeah.
But in this case, yeah, no, we actually we want to help people maintain their lifestyle, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
And the good news is that there are solutions today that can be water smart and allow you to have everything you want.
Like those nice showers that we're talking about.
Those nice showers, but also your pool. So
Yeah.
I'll talk. Yeah, I mean, this home in Santa Rosa, it did burn down. It was a big fire, the Tubbs fire, and they wanted to rebuild water smart. And they had a family of 4. They put in a Hydroloop gray water recycling system. So we got all the water from their showers, their bathtubs, their laundry. It recycles it into germ-free clear water, and then we actually are able to use that water to flush. They flush their toilets, they do their laundry, and then the rest goes to an irrigation valve.
So it's not potable. It's just shy of being potable, it sounds like.
It's germ-free clear water that is approved for reuse in toilets and laundry and sometimes non-laundry, depending on the county, and certainly for irrigation, but also for topping off pools. So we married this up with a rainwater harvesting system. We put in the below ground system where no one can see it. It's invisible except for a lid that's buried, under a fake rock. And they were able to connect it to their pool. And so whenever their pool needed more water, it has kind of like a high-low switch. So when the water level gets low, it automatically adds water from the rainwater harvesting tank below ground. And by the way, all the excess recycled water that we get from the gray water recycling unit flows into that tank, so that it even refills and recharges it during the summer months when they're not getting rain.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, I'm inspired by this conversation. Rainwater harvesting is something that's near and dear to my heart. I have a big rainwater collection system on a house I own in Colorado. It's actually snow melt and rainwater collection. Now, is what I've heard that in some states, maybe it's counties, that you're not allowed to harvest rainwater. Is that right?
It certainly was something of the past in almost all states. And fortunately now it's being approved in many of our states, like California. You want to check with your local health department, or you can call your local municipality. The good news is that the municipalities are also offering rebates on rainwater harvesting, where oftentimes when it is offered in my area, you get 75 cents per gallon, up to $2,000 off your system. So these systems, rainwater harvesting is becoming real, and particularly in areas where there is less water, it's becoming more and more accepted. In fact, in some areas like Austin, Texas, where they're in drought, you're going to see rainwater harvesting tanks at almost all the houses now. I mean, it's pretty incredible how much it's not something that is new. It's just been forgotten. and it's coming back as a frontline climate solution. I'll just give you a stat. For
Hmm.
every 1,000 square feet of roof that you have, per inch of rain, you can get 600 gallons of water. That's 600 gallons that you didn't have to pull from a tap or from your groundwater. It's free. And you can use that for all sorts of things, such as irrigation. You can use it for topping up your pool or hot tub. If you filter it in some areas, they'll allow you to filter it for use inside the home for real potable uses like showering and
Yep.
sinks and even drinking water. But you want to make sure that that's approved in your area. But it's a
Right.
fantastic way to reduce your water usage by up to it can meet up to 50% of a household's water use in certain climates, particularly when it's used for irrigation and non-potable use.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And I know here in Southern California, you mentioned utility programs and advising people to check their local utility to see what programs, incentives are available. But we have these laundry to landscape incentives. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a pretty simple basic technology, right? To
Yeah.
grab the water that's coming out of your laundry machine and just dump it into your bushes or whatever, right?
So yeah, I mean, if you're a tinkerer and a DIY kind of person, it's pretty easy to do. Like you
Yeah.
said, you divert that water outside the home. It does have to go below ground, 5 inches below ground, because it has bacteria in it. You don't want your kids or your pets drinking that.
Yeah.
And so you create what's called a mulch basin, where you dig a hole around it's not good for small plants, but it's good for shrubs or trees.
Yeah.
And you dig a little small reservoir around it and you fill it with mulch and you bring that water in below ground, and it's a great opportunity to grab that water.
Right. Rather than it going downstream to the sewage treatment plant, which, as you said,
Absolutely.
requires lots of energy. Talk
Yeah.
about Renova, the Renova Academy. Is that your own? Did you form that, or is that something is that a broader organization?
Yeah, Renova Academy, Renova means to renew, is something that came out of my wife and I are partners in this together, and she mostly runs Renova. And so that was really based on the fact, look, if you wanted to get a quote for solar, Ted, you could
Mhm.
probably call a half a dozen people today, right? And you'll get half a dozen quotes.
Sure.
Can you
Easily.
can you do that for water reuse and efficiency? No. So we realized that was our later realization that we needed to help build this industry. And so Renova is online, on demand education, and it's designed for people who want to sell these solutions. Maybe you're already in the space doing things at home. Maybe you're selling solar or landscaping or other things. Maybe you're a designer, you're an architect, you're a developer, you're a builder. You want to learn how these systems can be part of these designed in upstream, or you're an installer. Maybe you're a plumber who wants to have this additional
Yeah.
source of income and differentiate your business. So these are all courses that people can take on demand in just a matter of weeks and get into the industry and make a difference, whether you have experience or not. There's just a lot of people who are just climate oriented, who are advocates for helping to save the planet. Well, if you're that person
Yeah.
and you're excited by working with people to save water, this is something. And by the way, it's really fun when you talk to homeowners or work with businesses or other folks like that. They're excited because we realize that this is a real problem. We're thinking about our kids, future generations, and you're making a difference. It's something that really matters.
Yeah, that's. I was going to ask you what's the most rewarding, but I think you just nailed it right there. It's just fulfilling to help people, and you're educating me. You're going to educate our listeners. What are the biggest challenges? We only have a couple minutes, and we haven't really gotten into the too many of the challenges that are. Some of them are just inherent, but obviously we talked about policy. What do you see as the biggest challenges to sort of being water smart going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's about, first of all, awareness or education is a challenge. Most people get their water for pennies. We don't think about it. We just use it. We think it's a throwaway item. We think that it's just meant to go down the drain. And so we need to rethink how we use water so that, it can constantly be used over and over and over again. And we have to change that mindset. Another challenge is that we don't really have policies that support these types of solutions or incentives. You can argue that I know people at the top of the solar industry and the EV industry, and they will tell you that both of those would not exist without policies and incentives. And we don't have enough of them for the water space, and we need those because it's a huge challenge. And and I guess the last one is just naysayers, people who say it's not a problem. Well, look around. When we have droughts and you can't water your landscape, or you don't have enough water to take care of your basic needs, it is not a reality you want to live in. And it's one that over half the world is living in daily. So it's something that we need to take seriously as a wake-up call, because unless we start doing these things, it's not going to get better. But and I guess I will also say one challenge is that our water infrastructure is grossly outdated. And guess what it takes to update that? Time and money, ours, at least our money. We're going to have to pay more for water in the future as they build out these systems. So you can have decentralized water reuse and efficiency in your home. You can replace those old fixtures, those toilets, the washing machine, dishwasher, shower heads. You can put a little thing that slows down the flow of water in your shower and your sink today. You can find the leaks in your home today. And if you do those things, just start doing something. It's going to make a big difference, because everyone matters here.
And absolutely well put. And I think about down here in Southern California, many of us are paying more for water than electricity. The water bill has eclipsed the electric bill. And what you've educated me about and our listeners about is that there's lots of things that you can do about that. You're not powerless at all. There are changes that can be made that will help you in your pocketbook, but certainly will have tremendous societal benefits as well.
Yeah,
How great.
Not to make a plug, but if people are interested in this, I guess I am doing a plug.
Oh, go for it. Yeah.
Go to waterchampions.com. We have all of these solutions there. We have examples, we have photos, we have videos. You can learn everything you need to know about what's possible. We're not running out of water, folks. We're running out of ways to use it wisely. But these solutions, they're already here. And whether it's rainwater harvesting or gray water reuse or smart fixtures or native landscaping, they exist, and they're affordable, they're scalable, they're ready to go. We just have to say yes. We have to start doing something. And if each of us took a few small steps, that ripple effect would be enormous. So just start where you are. Capture a little rain, reuse a little gray, save a little more, because every drop counts, and everyone listening counts towards that solution.
Paul, thank you so much. Great conversation, great work. Thanks to you. Thanks to Jenna. I believe that's your wife's name.
That's my wife,
for
Jenna.
For what you guys are doing. It's very inspiring. Really appreciate your time today.
Oh, thanks, Ted. It was great speaking with you.
That's it. Thanks for listening to Flanigan's Ecologic. We'll see you next time.